As Hurricane Ian swept into southwest Florida, David Littlefield had a choice. It was 50-50.
Based on the best information I had, I decided to try and outrun the storm by going southbound.
That ill-fated move almost cost him his life.
Welcome aboard. Some stories are too wild not to be true, and this is one of them. As Hurricane Ian tore through Florida, a rescue was already unfolding in conditions no one should have gone into.
This is a two-part interview with David Littlefield and his wife Rebecca Van Fossen about their lifelong love for boating and their instinct to try and save their DeFever Trawler during one of the worst storms in decades. What started out as a route to escape the storm, David ended up putting himself right into the eye of it. Against all odds, he made it out. I'm Captain Butch.
And I'm First Mate Jen.
Welcome to Epic Stories. This series is available as a podcast on your favorite streaming platform like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or you can watch on the Great Epic YouTube channel. Please give us a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and follow us on Instagram at The Great Epic. This interview was recorded aboard our DeFever 44 trawler named Aqua-Cultured, which was the same make and model of David and Rebecca's vessel, and this was the first time they stepped foot aboard another DeFever since Hurricane Ian. Here is their story.
I was born in St. Louis, and 1983 left to earn my fame and fortune. Fortunately found both. Ended up retiring in Fort Pierce. Met Rebecca, and then took another job as an airline pilot. Wow. And ended up consolidating our households. Moved in with Rebecca in Stewart. And I was flying out of Fort Lauderdale, originally Orlando, and then met Rebecca, and then ended up based out of Fort Lauderdale. So I've been boating all my life, ski boats, sailboats, sunfish. If it burned fuel and it floated, I'm all over it. So, pretty extensive background as far as basically having fun on the water. And then you had a boating background.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because...
fishing boats, because I grew up in Miami, born and raised down there, and my dad always had a boat, some sort of boat, and we did a lot of out on deep sea fishing, which wasn't hard down in Miami because you just go right offshore and you're in the Gulf Stream. So
little boat, big ocean.
Yeah. And my mom was just the greatest fisherman ever. She caught huge sailfish. I mean, she just knew how to fish, big sailfish and all kinds. Mostly, just free lining. Just catching back in the day.
Wow.
That's.
I would love to see some photos of your boating experience and also your mom catching the big.
Oh my gosh, we've got one of them that was mounted, and she caught it on Mother's Day, and it's hanging
in our backyard.
In our backyard
That's
now,
so
in the back
cute.
of the house. But yeah, it was just my dad was a flight engineer for National Airlines, so he had lots of days off, and we would go fishing all the time out of Government Cut. I don't know if you're familiar with that area.
I've dove Government Cut.
Yeah, that's where we would go out of. And Dave had sailboat experience. I had more fishing experience. You really didn't do very much fishing, did you? You did more crabbing.
I did freshwater fishing.
Crab pots.
Yeah, when I lived in Seattle for I guess 9 years, and we would go up into the San Juans, beautiful
I've always wanted to go there.
Islands. And then if cross the border into Canada, and you're in the same geological formation, but they called it the Gulf Islands in Canada, San Juan Islands in the U.S. Now they used to say that they had 700 islands at low tide and less than 400 at high tide. So you had to be really careful as you maneuvered through the water.
Sure.
I had a buddy had a 31-foot, I think it was a Fiji sailboat, catch rig, and he was going along. I guess he had the autopilot on, and all of a sudden, 5 knots to thunk, 0. He hit one of the 300 islands that was partially submerged between high and low tide.
Of course.
And I guess he had a lead keel. He put a big dent in it. No damage to the hull.
Wow.
But very interesting. It's funny, I had a small sailboat, 22-foot sailboat. I lived in Idaho, trailered it when I moved to Seattle, And that was the boat that I took, in saltwater. And again, small boat, big ocean. It was funny. We would end up anchored out sometimes, marina some other times. And, you'd be in a marina and like your neighbor came down and you have a little chat with them and stuff. And so, people are standing around with their hands in their pockets. And like, oh, that's my boat over there, the big old, 86 foot something or other. And then, this is my boat here and this is my boat there. And I'm like, well, that's my boat right there. and I'm like, yeah, but don't measure a man by the length of his mast.
Yeah, right.
So, and then we upgraded. You never got on the 26 footer, but.
No.
Well, I was wondering, so it was, you were in Idaho as well, and then?
I lived in Idaho. That's where I was employed as an air traffic controller. And then.
That's a high-stress job.
Yeah, well, I don't know. People say, how stressful is it? And I say, well, it's not that stressful. I'm 26. So anyway,
Yeah.
my brother and sister-in-law had a boat, and it was a 22-foot McGregor swing keel. They call them trailer sailors.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can step the mast, and it's got a retractable keel, so you can tow it to wherever you want it to go. So I was in Idaho. I was driving to work, and I went by I don't even know what to call it. It was a Mercury dealer, and I was like, oh, look at that blue hull. I said, that looks familiar. It was the identical boat. And the little 22-foot McGregor, beautiful sailor, handled very well. The helm responded nicely. No weather helm, no lee helm. And so I was like, okay. And we're in Idaho, for Christ's sake. They sell fishing boats, right? Here's a sailboat. So I'm like, what do you want for it? The guy said, $4,500. I said, I'll give you $3,000. He goes, nah. I went back the next week. He goes, sold. So I ended up with that boat. Then we trailered it to Seattle, put it in, Puget Sound, and sailed all around. I can remember up in the San Juans, there's more than one way to get from one island to another. And I'm not going to say the mantra, but the MO was, if any way to avoid it, you would come back a different way than you went out, and then you'd see twice as much.
Yeah.
So I can remember, you've heard of the Straits of Juan de Fuca?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we were in the San Juans, and we were here, and we're going to go to this island, and then over here, and so we were like, well, we can go this way like that, or we can go the big way. So we got on, I guess, the Weather Channel 2, and they said 6-foot seas, and I'm like, pushing it. But they were calling for a decent, whatever they call that, the height between waves, the period.
Yep.
And so I thought, we can handle 6-foot waves. So we went the long way, and I can remember not a whole lot of boats out there, but the one boat we did see was about the size of the cargo container ships that come and go here. We came to a dead stop, and the boat went through their wake, and probably had to go through 2 or 3 of them because the way they come out in multiples. And then it's kind of like this boat. You've sold this one. I sold that one for more than I paid for it, which ended up being
that doesn't happen very often.
No,
with
it
boats.
doesn't. And then, of course, the next boat was a 26-foot McGregor. Same thing, trailer sailor, retractable keel. You could one person step the mast. And that had, the big draw, I guess, was the extra 4 foot. They had a queen berth that was all the time available, as opposed to the 22, where you had to drop the galley table and put the cushions down and whatnot. So basically, it was boat camping, on a budget.
Sure.
So we didn't have marina fees because the boat sat on a trailer. You could have it out of the water. You didn't have to worry about bottom paint. And it was a great little boat, both the 22 and the 26. I will say this for you McGregor fans. The 22-foot sailed a lot better than the 26.
It's amazing how that can work.
Yeah. And just in terms of, how easy it was to man the tiller and the weather helm and the lee helm. I can remember when I got transferred as an air traffic controller, and I towed that 26-foot boat from Seattle to Fort Pierce to Jacksonville, where I was stationed for a while. And I took a friend of mine out, and we were under motor, and then I said, okay, you take the helm, and I'll work the deck, I'll set the sails, and then when I got the sails up, cut off the motor, and I'm like, okay, he's at the helm, let him continue, and he's like really struggling, and I'm like, what the hell, man? So I let it go for probably half an hour, 45 minutes. We were on the St. Johns River, so there's a little current, a little wind. And I finally said, this, and he's like, "Rah," and I'm like, let me take the helm. And sure enough, it was, you just had to, it was, you were struggling with it. So there's a couple of fixes. They had a redesigned rudder that moved the center of something, talk to the marine engineers, move the center of whatever, pressure back, and it helped. I never got that far in terms of replacing the rudder. But anyway, both of them good boats, and again, sailing on the cheap.
Yeah.
Trailer sailors.
Yeah.
Trailer sailors.
It's a great way to get it. It's a great way to get experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then so you guys moved up to power vessels after some time?
We met. I ended up selling the 26-foot McGregor.
I don't know
And
what
then-
made you start looking for another boat.
Well, So we're living in Stewart on the Atlantic coast.
But then COVID hits, and when you're an airline pilot, commercial airline pilot, you have to retire when you're 65.
Okay.
So he was nearing that, and that just so happened to have happened while COVID.
Okay. Wow.
So that was that, and he bought the home in Nokomis, where we currently live, as just an investment. So it sat there for a long time with nothing in it. I don't think, maybe I bought a couple of couches and maybe a bed or something so that we could stay once in a while when we came to visit the grandchildren. And then COVID hit, and we thought, well, we don't have a pool in Stewart. We'll move over to Darien, to Nokomis, and that way it'll be a lot easier to be outside and use the pool during COVID. You couldn't leave your home. And anyway, so that's how we ended up being on the left coast versus the right coast.
And so when did you actually move over to the West Coast? What year?
2019.
2019.
No, well, that's when you bought the house, but we didn't permanently move until 2021, I think is when I sold my house.
Okay.
Yeah, it was when I finally sold my house in Stewart. We were going back and forth trying to take care of both houses.
Did you sell it at the right time, or did you sell
I sold it at a good time.
Okay, good.
I wish I had waited.
There's been better times.
He tried to talk me out of it, and we just had. It was one thing, when you have a home, or especially two homes, there's so much to manage.
There's a lot to manage. You have to worry about everything. We're in a demo right now that was
And then
unexpected.
3 hours driving time between the two.
Yeah,
So that's a full day
Plus
if
the
you go back
property
and forth.
taxes and all that stuff.
Well, that wasn't even as bad, at that time as it is now. But and hurricane insurance or wet.
Oh, yeah.
wind,
Yeah, we're feeling it
whatever.
right now.
That's what. Yeah, we were just dealing with that ourselves because we had to get a new insurance policy. But since Ian, that's just changed everything. Everybody's rates are just up. So even now, if I still own that house, I would have either had to pay it off and not have hurricane.
Right.
And it was just how many houses? 5 houses from the intercoastal. Our street had a boat ramp at the very end.
Little marina at the end,
Little
private marina.
Oh, it was just.
It was great.
It was a great house, but we just were tired of going back and forth, and we had the grandchildren, 2 little grandchildren that were growing up so fast. And we just decided, well, we'll just, I don't know. I wish I'd kept it. So I sold. I did make money off
Seller's
of it,
remorse.
but not nearly. The lady that bought my house, she ended up selling it 2 years later and made more than I did in 10 years.
Yeah.
Of course.
But getting back to your question, which was power versus sail. So Rebecca and I met. We consolidated our house, and then I was flying, and so you could get space available, and we flew to the Bahamas. That's where the airline, that was our predominant destination, the Southeast United States and the Bahamas. So Rebecca's like, well, I don't know anything about sailing, and I'm like, well, let's go to the Bahamas, and we'll get ourselves a sailboat. So we went up to Green Turtle Key.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
And we're hanging out, went down to the dive master, and we were like, sailboats? And he goes, well, I got one. And I'm like, well, let's take it out tomorrow. So, and again, Rebecca's got a fishing background. So this guy, a native Bahamian.
What's his name? Brandon?
Brandon.
The best
no,
guy.
No, Brindle.
He's still
he's a
like
name,
diving.
yeah. I mean, if you go to Green Turtle Key and you say Brindle, they're like, That
You can
guy.
look him up
Perfect.
There he is,
online.
right there.
So cool.
And his name's
So-
his wife's name's Mary, right? Isn't it Mary?
Yeah.
Mary works the office, but he's just an all around funny.
Yeah, he's a dive
Local,
master. He's a sailor. He's a power boater.
native
Probably
guy.
if you want ganja, he can probably hook you up. He's well connected,
We'll be
local
there
guy.
tomorrow then, Adam.
Yeah.
He is.
So,
he's like,
anyway-
he does diving
anyway.
trips. He does
Yeah.
fishing. He does.
You
sailing.
can go see the pigs, the swimming pigs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of
so
course.
basically, it's
Well, now we know who to
it's
call.
a
Yeah.
multi-dimensional place where tourists can spend
I'm
money.
not even sure if he does the pig thing, but he definitely. So you see the sailboat. I forgot all about this one. I thought you were
So-
talking about the next one.
Yeah, and I will.
Okay.
So so Brendel shows up and it's him and the sailboat is like 32-foot
And
cal
his
maybe. And yeah, then he had his first mate, which is a young woman, probably your age,
Thank you.
who was his first mate, but she didn't know anything about anything, right?
Well,
So
she
now,
knew how to make rum
so
punch.
well, yeah,
Oh, there you go.
And that-
good at
and
that.
Very important.
that's valuable right there.
She was.
So-
He was training her. In all fairness, he was working out the wrinkles.
So Rebecca's like, well, you can't fish off a sailboat. I'm like, the fish don't know the difference.
Yeah.
So Brendel shows up. He's got 4 fishing rods,
Yeah,
His
he didn't
first
know
mate,
anything about our
a
conversation.
cooler
Brindle
full of
just-
ice,
Yeah, he just
some rum drinks, right? So we plop the thing down, off we go. And I guess just
So
as
much
soon as
fun.
we got out of the breakwater, put the sails up, and we're going tacking back and forth. And he's like, okay, let's bait a hook and put it out there. So we threw out
Dave,
a couple
of
of
course,
lines.
is looking at me because I said you can't fish on a sailboat.
But-
And here's
but I-
Brindle.
And I
putting out-
told Brendel, I said, I'm if you need a helmsman, I can do it. All right. So it didn't take long at all. I forget what the bait was, but we had a couple 200 yards of
No,
line
he
out.
had lures. I think he
with-
used lures. It wasn't even fresh bait.
Okay.
It was just lures.
So anyway, I'm going to say 10 minutes
Oh,
into
yeah,
this,
yeah.
and we were in the Sea of Abaco,
Yep.
and I guess he knew the fishing grounds pretty well. 10 minutes, boom, fish on. So we bring the fish in, and Rebecca's doing it,
Yeah.
and
He's
bring
really nice.
the fish on board. And of course, the sailboat's going 5 knots, and then he's like, okay, turn into the wind, knock off some of the speed. So I turn up, and the sails are luffing, and we pull the fish on board. Now he and the first mate take the fish below, and they're not big on like an ice chest with fresh
sanitary?
fish, right? They just throw them in the frickin' bottom.
Yeah.
Refrigeration.
You know,
Right into
so
the bills.
so they're down below. The fish is
And they
flopping
don't
around.
want to sacrifice
And
the
so-
ice because the ice
that's
is
for
for
the
rum.
rum drinks. All right, and I'm all over that.
Priorities on a
That's
boat.
it. You got to prioritize. And if you run out of ice, that's a certified maritime emergency.
Absolutely.
So
Definitely.
you got to close down the cocktails. So anyway, now I'm sailing the boat. We bring in one line, and there's still another line out there, and they're down below messing with the fish. And all of a sudden, zzz, fish on. And so I tell Rebecca, grab the pole, right? And so I luff again, and we turn upwind, and she's bringing in the second fish, and I tell them, it's a fish on, And so they're down below. They come back on board. So anyway, we caught 44 pounds of mutton snapper.
I thought it was lane, but it's one of the snappers. I
Anyway,
thought it was
beautiful.
lane snapper.
We've got pictures of it somewhere.
I would
Yeah.
love to.
Yeah,
see
we gotta
those.
see those.
We
And
need
so
to see
we're
those.
staying at a little, I don't know, like a 1-bedroom bungalow thing right there on the water. And we get back,
I helped him clean the fish.
we get back ashore, and they're cleaning,
I've
on
cleaned
the,
fish since I was a little kid.
right.
And
So chop, chop, chop. And he's, I'm like, well, that's pretty good looking fillet there. And he goes, yeah. And he flops 2 of them in our direction. He's going to take the rest of them home, and that's what they're going to have for dinner. Right. So, and like I said, this guy's got it going on. It doesn't matter what you need or what you want. Brendel's the guy to go to. So
So
he was making money on the charter.
Yep.
He caught dinner for free, plus
He's got
plenty
it
for
all
the
figured
freezer.
out.
He really does.
Yeah.
And so he had his bases well covered.
And then we
took the fish. We took the fish to the restaurant that serviced the little encampment there.
Yeah.
Which was that his encampment or somebody else's?
No, it belonged to I can't
Somebody
remember,
else.
But they cook it for you.
Yeah. that's
You know,
Yeah, so they'll prepare the fish.
Very,
Sure.
It's funny
grilled
because
or whatever.
Rebecca-
Nothing, no big deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Rebecca knows her way around the kitchen. I wish that she would have cooked it. And then, as it turns out, because it came out and it was fine, but there was nothing. It wasn't like wow.
Right.
We're talking fresh snapper.
Sure.
There should be a little wow factor. So as it turns out, we're staying at this little 1-bedroom bungalow place, and the way the arrangement was for the living room was they had 2 living quarters and then a common kitchen. Well, you got to pay for the kitchen.
Oh,
and we
of course.
didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm out there on the deck. Must have been late at night. I was stargazing or whatever, and I went over and I turned it up. It's unlocked.
It was a full kitchen
The
right
the
there.
one from inside to the kitchen
Not
was
that we could
locked.
have used
Yeah.
it,
But the
really.
one on the porch,
Of course.
go in there, unlock
Brilliant.
the
Dave's
door,
like,
and,
oh,
just-
and then
but I had
but
no fish.
we found that out on the last day. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's no big
no
deal.
help.
Yeah.
Well, now we know, so we'll
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
check the doors. So,
And then,
and again, this was sail versus power.
Sure.
So now Rebecca realizes, well, I guess you can fish from a sailboat,
yeah.
and really, it's a perfect trolling speed.
Yeah, it is.
You know, the whole speed on a 30-foot sailboat. So I think you came back and you enjoyed that.
Yeah, we had a good
And so
time.
I was looking for another boat, and I was leaning towards sail, but Rebecca's like, well, I don't know anything about sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, well, then let's expand the search a little bit, and we'll look at sail and power. And, you know, if you have a sailboat, you can power it, just turn on the engine.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have a trawler, you can't raise the sails. I guess some people on the DeFever family have proven that wrong. I've
Sure.
seen try-sails and goofy crap
Of
hanging
course.
off the
Oh, yeah.
hanging off
Yeah.
the yard arm.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I guess your 60th birthday
I
was
started
coming
looking online, and I knew he kind of wanted a boat. Everything had, he had to retire during COVID, so
Yeah.
he didn't see the end of his career the way he had envisioned it to be. Flying that last time and landing and all the hoopla, going into the sunset with his career flying. Because you had been flying since what, you're 20-something?
23.
He had his pilot's license. So this was just, a cool thing that he had done all his life. Even though he'd been an air traffic controller, he had an interest in a plane at one time, didn't you? You kind of co-owned a plane for a while. He'd always flown. And then here comes COVID and his 65th birthday at the same time. So he was down in the dumps, and he had talked about getting getting a boat. So I kind of asked you a couple times, what kind of boat, steer me in the direction, and I'll join all these little Facebook groups and try to see, what's out there. And
Let me interrupt for just a sec.
okay.
All right. So if you're looking to buy a boat, the choices are endless.
Oh, yeah.
Sail versus power, monohull versus catamaran, both
Yep.
sail and power. So again, the question of what vessel we might want to be on, our next boat, was way wide open,
Right.
right? And so I didn't want to limit it. And so I said, well, I don't know, sail power. And Rebecca said, I don't have any sailing experience. So for her 60th birthday,
I think it was 60th. We went down.
we
Is
went,
that
yeah,
when
we went back
on?
to
No, 59.
Marsh Harbor
Oh, yeah.
and got a 41-foot Fountaine Pajot. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly for all you French folks. And so we're going to take the boat out, and she's like, "Well, I don't know anything about."
It's a huge boat.
And I'm like, okay, and it's again, every particular hobby has its own vernacular or lingo.
Right.
And she's like, well, that's a rope. I said, no, that's a line.
Oh, he does
And-
this to me all the time. I'm
and
still learning.
because it's
I
attached,
know. I finally got it, and then the
and
darn
because
boat
it's
stopped.
attached to the dinghy, it's called a painter.
Right.
Right? That's a rope right there on the mast, but that's called a halyard because it's attached to the sail.
Sometimes I'll say, just
So,
say that.
Because she's
word.
like, you mean the pointy end or the one in
Yeah,
back?
I did not say that.
I do that though. I called the sun deck the fly bridge yesterday, and he was
Right.
like, "No, it's the sun deck
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
that's
you gotta
okay.
get with
So,
the-
yeah.
or the aft bridge."
So anyway, in an attempt to kind of figure out what our next boat might be, we went and did a bareboat charter with this 41-foot cat, and in the Sea of Abaco, and so Rebecca's like,
was
"Well,
wonderful.
it's just the two of us." She said, "What happens if, like, you're incapacitated?" And I'm like, "Well, that's a really good
Or
point
if he
right
tells
there."
me you got to do this or that. I had no sailing experience, and this was, it was a brand new boat. So it was top of the line, all of the bells and whistles. I don't know what
And a good-looking crew. I'm here to tell you.
yeah, we ended up bringing family members.
Yeah, so basically,
So-
the idea, both of us bareboating this with only one person with the knowledge,
His brother had some sailing experience, and then he had a friend who had some sailing
Yeah, he was
experience.
a Coast Guard licensed captain, and then he had a girlfriend, and she had some sailing experience. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
so
okay.
we
We ended up with a
nice
crew of
little
6,
motley crew.
had all the bunks filled,
Motley crew.
and then
What a
I guess
fun time.
Absolutely.
we had one person had to sleep on the couch. Settee for all you boat folks.
Yeah. And then, the only thing that ended up happening is there were too many people with sailing experience, so it was kind
Yeah,
of like,
doesn't give you
who's
the
gonna be
opportunity
the-
to learn.
That was part of it. That was part of it.
I didn't care about that. It was just that
You
everybody
did
was
too.
fighting over. No,
You
because
did too.
No, I was the one who had to listen. Dave is letting Doug do too many things because like Doug didn't know what he was doing. Wow, wow, wow. You know, it was just people. I don't know why they did it that way. Because
Everyone has different training, right? So you have a Coast Guard certified, captain on board, but then you have you who's had experience his whole life, so you're probably not doing it to the book, you're doing it to the experience
No, I've read
situation.
books.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you've read books.
Yeah, it was fine.
I got my own
except that
copy of Chapman's.
I became the person that everybody came to. Then when they were distraught about someone doing it a different way than they, and I'm like,
You were
I
the
don't know how to
she-
do any of it.
and she
Yeah.
said talk to the captain. So that
Yeah.
put me in the spot where
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm not the captain.
I have to come down on a side. Am I going to come down on Rebecca's side, or am I going to come
No,
down
it
on my
wasn't
brother's
Rebecca's
side?
It was that. What was her name? Carrie's.
Carrie 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So yeah, it was, but it was despite all the shortcomings or drawbacks or what would you call it?
it was wonderful. We had beautiful.
Yeah, it was. We had a
sunsets
7-day
that
bareboat
sounds
charter
Yeah.
in the Sea of Abaco. How can you not like that?
Yeah,
It makes
absolutely.
you want to go right now.
Yeah, I know. We need to get away to the Caribbean.
Yeah. So
you can always go
living.
down there and rent the boat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Whatever.
Well,
you still
you know,
have a lot of fun.
and that was the other thing when we were on the Atlantic side. I mean, it was as simple as getting to the airplane, and then Silver Airways would take us to.
Oh yeah,
They had 11 Bahamian destinations, so you could pretty much pick your island,
right.
and we would go there for nothing. Airfare was part of my perk.
Yeah, it was a. But anyway, I don't know how you ended up. We started looking for a boat, and
We were looking at-
I joined the Facebook groups to try to boats for sale or.
Yep.
And so basically I was going-
trawlers for sale because you're the one who mentioned a trawler. I had never heard of a trawler.
Well, because she said power, and I'm like, well, if you want power, and again, when you think powerboat, you can think sports fisherman. You're doing 30 knots, burning 300 gallons an hour, or you can do a trawler with twin diesels, 135 horsepower a side, and you're burning 3 gallons an hour, but you're only going 7 knots. And I'm like, that's the same speed that I'm used to on a sailboat. You know about theoretical hull speed on sailboats?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
the square root of the length of the water line.
Right.
I don't
Okay,
know
well,
about
that's going to be on the test. That will be on the test.
Hull
Looking at
speed.
me, I'm like,
All right.
please don't ask me a question.
So it's simple. The answer is B.
Okay.
All right, square root of the length of
I
the
was
water
going to say
line.
C, so
So basically,
Get it, C.
if you have a 25-foot boat, the square root of 25 is
7.
5.
5.
Right, so 5 times 5 is 25.
Okay.
So that's the fastest a boat can go. So if you put a 10 horsepower motor on there and you wide open throttle, you can go 5 knots. You can double the horsepower, you're still going to only go 5 knots.
Right.
So anyway, that's just that's a fun fact to know and tell. It will be on the test. So
I think so I'm looking at the internet. This went on for months.
Sure.
And I think one day you got up and I had been outside, just sitting on the patio looking at boats. And I saw the DeFever, right? And I think I asked you.
well, let's go back just a little bit because we had been
I'm just
looking.
trying
Love
to
it.
get it moving along here.
That's fine.
No, this is
But we
great. I
had-
love
we
all the
had been looking.
backstory.
And as far as looking, I'm like trawlers. Okay, so I was looking at what I knew: Grand Banks, Marine Trader,
Oh yeah, I forgot about the
a Monk.
Oh yeah.
And some of the brands that I knew people
Forgot about that.
had and liked.
Yeah.
Livability, berth arrangements, flybridge, engines. You don't just buy the boat; you buy the total package.
Right.
Warts, faults, the good stuff, the bad stuff, and it's all a compromise. It really doesn't matter whether it's a boat, a plane, a house. You want a house, you want it bigger, but then you have to heat it and cool it. So anyway, we were looking at various boats, and so
we still had the home in Stewart, and I come upon a Grand Banks. The guy is just up the road, wasn't he? Just a little north.
Yeah, and the boat was out of the water. So we were like, "Whoa, how about that?
That's right.
How about that?" Basically,
in my
the guy,
neighborhood, kind of,
it was just a marina just down the street. So we were like, okay, because you might find the boat you want that's in Hayward, California, or Guatemala,
Right.
And you're like, well,
truly, there were boats out in Washington. We're like, how are we going to get them back here?
so we're looking at this Grand Banks. I think it was a 42,
Yep, that was.
and basically this guy.
Zach.
No concept of maintenance or anything like that.
He bought it
And
for
so-
a chick magnet.
That's it.
That's what Grand Banks are, I
like
heard.
if you look at his
pretty much.
web presence,
Yeah.
he'd have pictures of women,
in Brazilian bathing suits.
yeah,
or
with
whatever,
the
on a stack.
what do you call it, a thong bikini,
Yeah.
What's
And-
his website? I just want to make sure that
Yeah, no, I think it. Yeah, I think yeah.
Well, no, but and he used it a lot for paddle boarding.
So-
It was a party boat.
So we're going to pay for a survey, and we're like,
We did
okay,
pay for a
air conditioning, and he's like, well, it's not on, and I'm like, I knew that. I knew that part. So let's turn, and so he's like, well, and then we're like, okay, generator, and we're on shore power, and he's like, well, generator's like, and
boy.
nothing's happening, and what he didn't do was he didn't do the glow plug thing.
Preheat.
Yeah, so and I kind of knew that, but I'm like, let's just see how ignorant this guy really is, and so refrigeration, no, not working either. We use a cooler and ice. And I'm like, well, we're talking about the Great Loop or liveaboard, we want functioning, So
They
anyway,
did the survey, and it was a fiasco.
yeah, so we went to look at the boat. It was out of the water. It was on the hard. It was up on jacks. And so we could
He
look
was
at the
painting
bottom.
the bottom.
Yeah, he was doing the bottom paint, among other things. And so we could go back because it was there from day after day after day. We could kind of like see what was he doing. So we get there one day, and here's a freaking port engine sitting there on railroad ties.
Oh no.
And exactly, I'm like, well, this is, I kind of get an idea of this guy's idea of maintenance, right? And so now he's replacing the freaking engine, like floorboards up, out the cabin door, and just think about doing that. You need a forklift.
Oh yeah.
You need to come through the door. You need to get a hoist. So anyway, I'm like, oh.
That's why they call it a major overhaul. It's a
Exactly.
major ordeal.
So as opposed to
This went on
rebuilding a
for
place
months. It went on for months.
for a while. So now
Us
we're trying
courting him,
we're trying to
talking
give him an
about
offer
the
that takes into account the condition of the boat and the condition we would want it in.
Was that prior to the survey?
No, that was after the survey.
Because the survey, when we left the survey, it was just horrible. I mean, Dave said if even one of the heads worked, it would be better. Neither bathroom worked, right? The toilets didn't work. Nothing worked. And
There was a lot of stuff that needed fixing. And
Yeah.
again, his idea of maintenance was put some ice in the cooler, throw in
Yeah.
some beers, and off we go.
and get
If
some-
you
get
hit the
5 girls
starter and
to
the
come.
engine's turned over, we're good.
His priorities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and of course, hey, I'm
It
not
was a-
saying his were wrong,
It was
right?
It's
we're
for him.
talking, We're talking buxom babes with thong bikinis,
Yeah.
It
And-
was,
and
it
a
was
paddleboard.
really sad for us because it was kind of like, oh.
So anyway, we spent all the money on the survey and whatnot, and then I'm not going to say we lowballed him. We gave him an accurate figure that was probably half of what he was asking for.
Yeah.
But, I said, you just did the port engine. I'm not sure how good a job you did on that. But if the starboard engine is the same thing, now we got that one. We got refrigeration. We got 2 heads. There's a whole lot of stuff. The electronics were shit.
But we ended up, so that we finally
Walked away from that.
yeah, we had to walk away from it after all this time. And,
So we're still looking. I wake up one morning and Rebecca goes, "Hey, look what I saw."
yeah, and it was a DeFever, and it was in Bradenton.
Yeah.
Is that where they
Oh
live?
yeah,
Palmetto.
that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
Palmetto, I guess.
Just right up
Yeah.
the road.
Bradenton,
Yeah.
Anna Maria.
Mm-hmm. And real nice couple. We went out. It was behind their home. They had lived
Off the river.
Is it the
Off the Manatee River,
I
yeah.
bet I know who the town
Yeah,
is
they
so
they
small.
had
but I
actually
know
lived
they're-
on Anna Maria Island for years and years.
Phil and Candace Shields.
the Shield family. Yeah, I went to school with some of their children, I believe.
So nice, really, really nice people. And we went to see the boat. It was behind the house, and we left, right? And you were like, well, I don't know. I really like that boat. Should I make an offer? And
So just backing up just a little
This
bit.
is the defeat.
guy, yeah.
Okay.
So we had gotten there. The boat had been on the market. they had an offer, and the guy put down earnest money, and then
that's right, he
did his survey, which we took his survey and had the name changed to protect the innocent.
Sure. Yep.
But it had just been done, and he was upset that it had.
He had the same kind of thing that with any boat. You take the asking price, and then you deduct the cost of what the survey came up with to bring it back up to snuff or where you want it, or closer to where you want it. And so, I guess there were blisters. And I'm like, blisters on a freaking fiberglass boat are like zits on a teenager.
Exactly.
Everybody's got them. If you don't, you're lucky. So anyway, this guy, so this guy took offense to the blisters, and he was just like, well, the blisters. And so he said, well, I'll fix them. I'll fix the blisters. So I forget exactly what transpired, but the guy wanted his deposit back. I guess while they sorted out the blister problem. So we looked at it, and the captain, Phil Shields, had said, the blisters came up in the survey, and I'm going to have them done tomorrow. And so I was like, well, how much is that going to cost? He goes, well, they quoted $15,000. And he wanted, I think, 165. Yeah. So, and I'm like, okay, blisters. I can live with the blisters. We'll deal with next haul out, or 2 haul outs, or 3 haul outs. For Christ's sake, it's the blisters.
Sure.
So we get in the car, and we're driving down the block, and I asked Rebecca, what do you think? She goes, well, yeah, I like it. I'm like, well, it's got a lot of stuff that we've been looking for, and not a lot of stuff that we don't like.
You could tell it had been meticulously taken care of.
Not meticulous, but well maintained.
Yeah, well maintained. They loved the boat. They had really good times on it.
You could tell that they had put.
That's who you want to buy the boat.
That's
from.
it. Well cared for.
Like this guy.
And not, and again, we don't have unlimited budgets, so it's not like you're going to do everything on your punch list, and you're not tomorrow. No, you're going to prioritize and figure out which one you're going to do.
We understand that.
Exactly.
Okay. So anyway. We get to the end of the block, and I said, what do you think? And when we both like, well, you don't want to like, oh, yeah, we got to have it.
No.
But we like what we saw. We liked the couple. And so we turned the car around. We went back, and I sat down with Phil. It was his wife's boat, and it was named after her grandmother, the Elizabeth Pearl.
Yeah.
But Phil was the captain. He was the engineer. He was the chief maintenance, the mechanic, and one thing and the other. And I had asked him about it because 2-man crew with he and his wife, and I'm looking at it, me and Rebecca and I, and he was like, no, that's not a problem. Two people, we can do it. And so we took the boat out. We did a little shakedown, checked the windlass and did this and that one thing. And then he let me have a crack at the helm. So I was, checking the maneuverability of the boat. We pulled up on some crab pots or lobster pots or whatever, and I'm like, like it's a mooring buoy.
Yeah.
I'm up there in the fly breeze. I'm like, well, this boat handles really, really well. It's making me look good, and I've never driven it before. So anyway, we get back. We drive down, end the block. We turn, we come back, and sit down with Phil. We kind of have a glass of tea, and I said, we're interested. And he told me about the guy that made the down payment, and then he wanted his money back. And so he said, I gave him his money back. And I said, so the boat's back on the market? He said, yeah, and that's where Rebecca found it. We had no idea about the previous offer. So I said, how much are you going to spend on the blisters? And he goes, $15,000. And I said, if you take that off the asking price, you don't have to worry about the blisters. You don't have to put out the money. And that's my offer. So he wanted $175. Sold it to us for $160.
Beautiful.
So I was like,
and didn't have to do any of the work. He just gave
that's it. I mean, yeah. And so at that point, we got the thing rolling. Now we're looking for insurance. We're looking for moorage. We're looking for all the things that could derail, this.
Right.
And again, I've been boating since I was a kid. Used to work for a guy. He had a 40-foot Owens Aruba, beautiful cabin cruiser, double gray marine twin gas engines. So, and that was on the Mississippi. And again, you're talking current and whatnot. I can remember going out on the boss's boat, and he was a smoker, so his night vision was really bad.
Okay.
And so, of course, we ended up on the Mississippi at night, and so I find myself driving the boat. So There's an interesting story there. I'm not going to bore you with it. But when you look at insuring a 44-foot DeFever, they're going to ask you, the insurance company, when they vet you, they're going to say, well, what's your boating experience?
Exactly.
And so I listed this and that, and I talked about the catamaran and, the 44-foot Fountain Pajot. I owned a 32-foot Luger way back when, the 2 sailboats, and then my boss's 40-footer one's Aruba. And so they said, okay, you're insurable. And I'm like, okay, that's out of the way. So the place where we found for moorage, they wanted $1 million liability.
Of course.
And I can get that. You're sitting next to 2 boats. Between the 2 of them, they probably cost $2 million.
This
If
was the
your boat
private
catches
marina,
fire.
the very first place we took it to.
So anyway, we got the insurance squared away. We got the moorage squared away.
That took a while, though. The insurance was easy. We got through that, but then we needed a place to put the boat.
Yeah.
And I found that through Facebook too, just by posting.
Just
I
a
can't
lucky
even remember
find.
how I did it, and a real estate agent
She's the
called me.
operations manager.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's the go-to
I'm
gal.
Really
Yeah.
good about that kind of thing.
You want to get her done? Call Rebecca.
Yeah.
I love
and
it.
I did that, and this lady from real estate reached out to me and said that she knew someone who was looking to sublet a moorage or a dock space, and he lived in a private condo, and it was in Osprey. And I thought, oh my gosh, Osprey would be a dream.
Yeah.
10 minutes away.
10 minutes
Oh,
from
yeah.
the
And it
house.
fit the size of your boat as well.
Yeah,
which
well,
is
we didn't
another
know,
plus.
and she gave me the phone number, and I
We
called
took up
his
we took up the
father.
whole space.
I would say so.
His,
Yeah.
his father was a real estate agent that she knew. So the fellow who owned the condo was a surgeon in Maryland, and so she gave me his dad's phone number. And I mean, I had been searching. We had been calling every
Sure.
marina, everywhere, and we haven't seen dock space come up in 10 years.
For a 44-foot? No
Yeah.
way.
No way. If these docks, we have a waiting list.
Yeah, you're on a 4-year waiting list.
No,
I'm like,
Yeah.
and
oh,
most
no.
Yeah.
of the people wouldn't even
I'm
put
going
us
to
on a
anchor out
waiting
for
list.
4 years.
They
Yeah.
didn't even put us on a waiting list. We even got to the point where we called the Shields and said, "Can we leave the boat there?" I mean, they were looking to buy it. He was actually a captain, or what would you call it? A fishing captain.
Coast Guard
So
captain.
so they had the 44-foot DeFever, but they also had a smaller boat that he took out people fishing on. I don't know if he had retired from that officially, because he's one of the guys I think that had a barracuda come up and bite
Oh,
someone's arm
yeah.
off. That's Mr. Shields.
By
Oh,
someone's
wow.
arm
No kidding.
off?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of his clients.
Yeah, that's
One
scary.
of his clients.
That actually happened when I was
That's
growing up.
terrifying.
Yeah, but it didn't bite anyone's arm
Right.
off. My dad had
I know
a-
that they were aggressive, but to bite an entire arm off, I didn't know
Yeah.
that they were that
It's in-
strong.
if
Well,
look
you
it up,
know when
Yeah.
you go to
look
a
it up, it's
restaurant
local-
and you
local.
order chicken
It
fingers?
happened.
Yeah.
This was a barracuda restaurant, and he wanted fisherman arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, not funny.
I'm
Not funny.
surprised
The
I didn't
person
know that.
survived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I was thinking in my head with I think they have a son named Patrick Shields who I know. So
Could
I
be.
don't know. I have to
Yeah.
research
I know
it.
they have
It's such a
grandchildren.
small town.
I know
so.
they have grandchildren that we
Grew up on the
were
boat.
sharing
Yeah.
pictures
Yeah.
of our grandchildren.
Aw.
So yeah, but anyway,
I can't
so
wait to be a grandma. My daughter's 4. I have a long way to go, but I'm like, I can't wait.
it is fun. But
And-
they grow up so fast. But,
Where's that-
but the Shields. So we actually talked to them about, couldn't we leave it at your house? Because we didn't know what to do. We're looking everywhere.
We'll just
So
pay you
this-
dock fees.
This
essentially.
wonderful thing comes up, and so I can't get on that fast enough to try to find out. And it was so close to the house, and it was perfect. But and I think the boat was there for what, a year?
I don't know.
maybe?
There was an HOA,
Yeah.
major
I already
pain in the
mentioned
ass.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was. Such
And I
a
mean,
pain.
they were in your shit all the time.
Of course.
Yeah, they were like, it's,
She wasn't happy about it being sublet in the first place. The surgeon didn't live there, and she didn't. Of course, Dave was on the boat, and she didn't. She was always asking, "You can't sleep on the boat."
yeah,
not that he
no
did.
liveaboards.
They have
Yeah.
nothing
And I'm
better
like,
to do.
A
than
hurricane was
bother
coming
you.
through, and
There
I
was
said,
one
I'm going to spend the
hurricane
night
that
on the
came
boat.
through.
I told the realtor, who was the agent for the owner, and I said, I'm going to be on the boat Thursday night because there's a hurricane. I'll watch if
I
I
can't
need to
remember
adjust the
which
lines or
hurricane
the
it
fenders
was,
or
but
whatever. So that
Never really hit us.
they took umbrage at that. No, and it was a non-event.
Yeah. But
Um,
anyway, so she was working behind the scenes to make sure that you couldn't sublet at a dock.
The idea
Yeah.
was that slip was for you and your boat because you lived in that apartment or
Right.
that condo.
Yeah.
So,
And even
but-
though he didn't even have a boat, it didn't matter. So we had to start looking for another place. And the surgeon was just like, I really am sorry, because we had him on auto pay. He always got his money. It was perfection.
Right.
And he was good with that. Never in town anyway.
Yeah, who wouldn't be?
Well,
It's a great deal
he,
for him.
He was in town. He came on board. He's like, "Oh, this is really nice." He says, "I got some experience, as a crew member back in college on a sailboat, and I'm like, "Well, okay." So he was like,
Everything
"This
was
is fabulous," and I'm like, "Yeah, it really is. We're liking it. Everything's good."
So we have to find another place, and we're running out of time, because I think they gave you a month. This is when your lease is going to be over, and we had to find another place. So we were looking everywhere. And
In the meantime, we had taken the boat out and had some alarms go off from the engine room,
oh, I forgot about that.
and your mechanic came and took care of the problem because
Right in the midst of us trying to-
overheating on the left hand on the port engine.
Yeah.
And we did a top end overhaul. Three grand later, I was like, freaking top end overhaul. That's a partial rebuild
Right.
in place.
We had
So-
to use what's this place up in Tennessee? What, the diesel place?
Oh, American Diesel.
Yeah.
American Diesel.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
Brian
was so
Smith.
great about.
Shout out to Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah,
Good man.
Brian.
I don't know you, but
I could not have done it without. I mean, he was just the nicest guy.
He's the layman expert.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that man.
Got it.
And
I mean,
then,
you say I got a 135 layman. He goes, "Is that the E model with the the green alternator with the two red wires coming in?"
Yeah.
No, that's not it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
well, so we're running out of time, and we got to get the boat out of there, and we can't use oars.
So then we invoke
So
the safe
even
harbor.
looked at, like,
Yeah.
are we
That we're
gonna
not
be-
seaworthy.
get someone
We're
to
not
pull it?
leaving.
Right.
And basically, flipped them the bird, the HOA.
yeah.
And said, you can do whatever you want. You can call the cops. You can, call the Coast
The boat
Guard. You
can't
can get
run
an
right now.
attorney. But I said, we're not leaving until the boat's fixed. So we
So-
were there an extra month and a half,
Yeah, or
something
something like that. We couldn't get out of there fast enough because
Yeah.
we're not rule breakers.
Well,
we just
speak
had to
for
get-
yourself.
Yeah. But so we
If it
got.
wasn't written in the bylaws, they can chill out.
Well, and anyway, it sat there.
They were the
all this
bylaws.
time.
I know.
Yeah. And,
They just made it up as they went.
It was
yeah.
awful. But so we ended up finding this Royal Palm Marina in Inglewood, and Dave motored the boat down there
With your son.
Yeah, with my son, and they put it in the. I don't remember how long the boat was at Royal Palm before. Not very long. Would you say
Yeah.
a month? Maybe 2 months.
No more than that. But anyway, we were there for
Yeah,
some
we were in
time.
Inglewood at this marina. It was a difficult slip to get in and out of, kind
A
of.
little bit run down.
Yeah, run down a little bit.
Nowhere near as nice as this one,
Yeah. Oh, you mean the boat or the?
the marina.
Oh, the marina. Yeah. No, the marina was, but
Yeah, and so we're talking about Elizabeth Pearl is a 44-foot DeFever offshore cruiser, which we're sitting on a 44-foot
Yeah,
DeFever
sister ship.
right now. This is Aqua-Cultured, obviously, and we had come in contact when you were having the engine issues, right? And so I don't know if you guys were following me on the YouTube channel or Instagram and reached out to me and helped you get in contact with the mechanic
Exactly.
for the boat.
networking through using social media.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. You can
It
do
is,
that.
It is.
And-
I think the couple out in San Diego, I think they're.
Oh,
remember
see
I
y'all.
followed them. for
See
a
y'all,
while,
Yeah.
And I followed you, and I just tried to find out any information, especially when it came to problems, because it was difficult to find people to work on the boat. So many people, don't come out to
Especially
the
that
boat.
age of a boat too.
You
Like,
can't
it's-
bring the boat to them
Right.
most of the time. We even looked into that. Can we bring the boat to you? Oh, the marina's too small. A 44-foot boat.
Right.
So you were so great in helping us find the right people. I think you may have even turned us on to the guy that brought the gas, the diesel.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
quite
that was
possibly.
Phil. That was Phil.
Oh, Phil
Oh,
did?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do for fuel,
Yeah.
but if you get a shore-based fuel provider and the guy comes in a 5,000-gallon truck
Yeah.
with 200 feet of hose,
Yep.
he just wheels that thing out, pulls it on your boat,
Yeah.
and he's parked out on the street.
Right.
Now, you couldn't get it from here, but behind the Shields house, he pulled up at the curb, and Phil even did the fueling for me. He said, "I'll pay for it."
Yeah, we filled it
And-
up before
And
we
before we took
left.
possession of the boat,
Yeah.
we topped off the tanks, and good golly, $1.78 a gallon.
Yeah, that was right around the time that I
What a
fueled
time to
this
be
boat
alive.
up, and I had a fuel truck come. I think it was Jet Age Fuel or something like that, and they came and fueled up. I got $1.80 a gallon at that time.
Yeah.
Topped it off. It was great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
that changed. But anyway, we used that same fuel guy when we were in Osprey, didn't we?
No.
No, we didn't.
We never had to top off again.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking over 900 gallons of fuel.
And that's that's the funny thing about trawlers is, you know, it's kind of a natural transition too. I know a lot of people in aviation end up being boaters first and foremost, and then a lot of the sailors who have experience on sailboats end up moving on to a trawler because there's a lot of similarities in efficiency, speed, and there's a lot of space. It's stable, it's fuel efficient, so it's a natural transition to go onto a trawler. And a DeFever 44 is just such a great living platform and cruising platform. It's seaworthy, it's comfortable. You have twin staterooms, ton of deck space. It's good to handle, and so it's just a great vessel to have and do the cruising that you potentially want to do, or living aboard.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of which, we were racking our brains over what to name the boat, and we redocumented the boat with Coast Guard and gave them the new name.
It took forever to get all that paperwork done.
Yeah, well, by that time the boat had been through the hurricane.
After the hurricane.
But anyway, we were, you know, you're speaking of the aviation angle, if you will. And
we
so
had shirts made and everything.
we were talking about boat names, and you know, Disco Fever. So it's a DeFever.
Oh yeah.
So we were doing a play on words. We were doing like my sailboat. One of my sailboats' name was Between the Sheets.
Oh, nice.
And
Love it.
you know, but maybe you don't know. We talked about the lines and the ropes and the painter and, you know, the halyard and whatnot. The lines or ropes that you control the sails with on a sailboat are called sheets. Don't ask me why.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because they control something that looks like a big sheet that's up there.
Sure.
So you have a starboard jib sheet, you have a port jib sheet. So if you're on the boat, you're between the sheets. And of course, it's a double entendre.
I love it.
A play on words, between the sheets. And of course, I was a chick magnet. That's the whole idea behind boats.
That's how this guy got me.
Yeah.
So, so we're looking for a new name. And I think we put it out to the family. We said,
everybody,
we're going to give you a real expensive bottle of champagne if you're the winner. And so we were trying to develop some ideas. And I had just retired from the airlines, and I don't even know who came up with it.
No, you got a shirt. Didn't you have a shirt?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
So he's sitting there at the bar at our breakfast bar or whatever.
It was a T-shirt,
and it was an old shirt. He had
nothing to do with boating. It was an aviation shirt.
Yeah,
it was from an aviation expo. I believe it was in Tampa at the time, years ago.
I thought it was up north.
No,
anyway.
But anyway, the shirt said, the shirt was advertising, and I had a baseball cap too. It was advertising for a fly-in community in Missouri. And it was called Perfect Landing. And so Rebecca looks at my shirt and she goes,
all faded out.
Perfect
and I said,
Landing.
Does that have a logo on it? He said, yeah. And I looked at the back and I'm like, what does it say? It said Perfect Landing. And I said, I said, where'd you get this? He said, I worked the tower. Didn't you work the tower?
Yeah, but it was not from the tower, it was from the expo.
Right, but I mean, you didn't, anyway.
That's why I was there.
He's got the T-shirt essentially. So that's what we're going to name it.
Yeah, Perfect Landing.
I love that name.
Did you get your expensive bottle of champagne for coming up at the
No,
name?
Yes, she did.
I forgot about that.
She owns all the bottles of champagne.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
We always were well stocked with champagne on the Pearl.
Had my older sister out on the boat, and she's 5 years older than I am. We're anchored out, beautiful sunset going down, and I said, "Hey, let's go up on the flybridge, and we got some of that champagne on ice, don't we?" And so it was an expensive bottle of French champagne, and so we're up there, and everybody's got a glass of champagne. The sun's going down, beautiful, seas calm. We're just sitting there bobbing at anchor, and my sister goes, she takes a sip, and she sets her glass down, and she goes, "I never would have thought I'd be on a yacht drinking French champagne, watching the sun go down." And I'm like, that's the way we roll.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they got to, see it. Your family, a couple of members of his family came down and were able to see and experience. So we were, we had to get through some of these things that happened with the boat. It took time to try to get these things. Dave was working on all new electronical equipment, right? You had put in everything except the autopilot.
New Furuno, AIS, radar, autopilot, rudder indicator. There's a little story there. So we're with her daughter and her new husband. I guess they were married at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Luke, why don't you take the helm? So I put him behind the wheel, and we're on the intercoastal. So you got to stay between the buoys, right?
We're waiting for the bridge.
Right. And so there's a bridge, and it's on a schedule. And so I'm like, okay, we'll just hang out here. And so I forget what
We didn't have a rudder indicator at that time. Because you
anyway,
hadn't put it in, so
I was showing them hard over from port to starboard on the wheel, and so I went over and went back, and then I put it where I thought it should be, and then I'm letting him steer, but I'm doing the throttles because you can maneuver the boat. And I mean, we're probably from here to that cat. That's the bridge and the bulkhead, and the stuff where you don't want to hit it. It's good solid stuff. You want to leave that.
Luke's
keep that away from the boat.
Luke's not a boat captain.
Yeah, he's got no experience, but he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
If we had just kept going and they'd opened the bridge, we'd have been through. It'd have been fine.
Sure. But
so now we're dead in the water, and I'm maneuvering the boat using the throttles, and so now it's time to go. And so I'm like, okay, Luke's at the helm, and I'm working the throttles, and I put him in forward, and I give it a little gas, and the boat starts going.
Butch
beeline for the bridge.
No.
The rudder was hard over.
Of course, yeah.
So I was like, I got it.
It takes over.
I got it.
I'm panicking.
God. We've already taken out the bridge in her mind, right? So I backed down, and and I'm sure the bridge tender's sitting there with big old, silver dollar size eyeballs.
Yeah.
Big old 44-footer.
What did you end up doing? Putting tape around the steering wheel?
Oh, I just put a nice little piece of rope work at the 12 o'clock position with the rudder neutral. Now, it'll give you false indications 6 times because 3 right and 3 left.
Exactly.
So you could still have the rudder not be in amidships, but if you were close, you could center it. Using
at least you'll know something is off if that is not close to being up and down.
And if you're
after that, our logo, our saying was, "It's the rudder. It's the rudder, stupid."
Yeah, check the rudders, idiot.
Check the rudder.
Anyway, I would have T-shirts made for that too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
what was your initial plan for the boat then? What was your plan? Was your plan to do the loop eventually, or
that was part of it? But I mean, we wanted a liveaboard boat, take it down to Key West, take it over to the Bahamas.
We wanted to go through the Okeechobee, whatever that is.
Well, you almost have to if you're going to get to
the Okeechobee waterway. Yeah.
Either that or around Key West.
I joined all the Facebook groups.
And so, had you ever done that? Did you ever get a chance to do any sort of
I
traveling?
got this close to the Caloosahatchee before Ian interrupted my little sojourn.
Yeah, and so here we are. Today is September 21st, 2024.
Approaching the 2nd year anniversary.
Exactly. So September 28th, I believe, 2022, Hurricane Ian had...
29.
Was it
September 29th?
29th, okay. And
maybe that's when you were rescued.
The 29th was when...
And so Hurricane Ian forms, and here in Tampa Bay, we've been extremely fortunate. And it's been over 100 years since we've had a major hurricane make landfall in the immediate Tampa Bay area. And here we have a potential bullseye hit in the Tampa Bay area with a major Hurricane Ian. And so we're all thinking up here in Tampa Bay, I've got this DeFever motor vessel Aqua-Cultured in downtown St. Petersburg, and I'm thinking this is not good. I'm thinking about potentially taking the boat south, maybe try to get across the state. And, I kind of had an inkling in the back of my mind because I was here during Hurricane Charlie as well. And that kind of had a similar trajectory. It was making a beeline for Tampa Bay and then made a last minute turn into Punta Gorda. And so, I said, you know what, maybe I'll stay here in St. Petersburg, because what if I take the boat down to Fort Myers or whatever and I have a mechanical problem and I can't get into safe harbor, and then the storm decides to go a different direction, I'm screwed. So, you get the age-old question from people who have no experience on boats. What do you do when a hurricane is coming? And you either stay put, secure it, go out to sea, get away from the storm. But here on the west coast of Florida, it's not so clear cut and dry on what to do, because you don't have that many escape strategies. You can head south, which is really where the storm is coming from. Or you go to Mexico and expose yourself out in the Gulf of Mexico, or go to Texas or whatever.
You have 2, maybe 3 choices. You go north, you come out of the marina and you make a left or you make a right.
Right.
Because that's it. There's 2 choices coming out of the marina.
Yeah.
You go right, you go left. And then in hindsight, maybe now is not the time, but what occurred to me in hindsight with 20/20 vision, I should have gone out to Venice Inlet and pointed the boat westbound and just left the throttles and get, 3 days was all I had.
Right.
So 3 days west of here at 8 knots would have put me a couple hundred miles out into the Gulf. And in hindsight, that would have been the choice I would make now.
He talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
But
So-
that's a scary idea.
Yeah.
To go out in the Gulf of Mexico with a storm pending.
Yeah.
Well,
What
really,
if it turned that way?
well, that's
Yeah,
fine.
and
That's fine.
You can't even
But-
get rescued out there. I mean, what in the world? That would have been. I couldn't even imagine
It's-
that. Being
Well, I
one
can
of
tell
our
you this:
choices,
a hurricane coming up anywhere over the island of Cuba is not going to go into the Western Gulf.
No, it usually breaks up over Cuba.
No, it's not that it breaks up. It's that when it turns, it's going to turn to the east.
Yeah.
And that has to do with global high and low pressure systems, at 30 degrees north, predominant westerlies. So as soon as that thing, gets into that jet stream is what it boils down to. The turn's going to be to
gonna
the
get pulled.
east.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
It's not going to have any choice. Now, if something's going to hit Galveston, it's going to come up the Bay of Campeche and up the coast of Mexico. But that's still going to end up, if you look at the historical tracks, even after it makes landfall, the thing's now going to hit South Carolina because it turns to the east.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah, and that's always the the guess is where these storms are going. You have the Bermuda High that's controlling the storm from being able to make that north and northeast turn, and then you have these cold fronts that come down and pull the storm up towards it. So, in this time of the year, we're in the thick of hurricane season for us in this region here, and they form relatively quick in off of Mexico or just south of Cuba or in the Western Caribbean, essentially, and then they enter into the Gulf of Mexico and have rapid intensification. And then it's like, all right, is it going to hook more southerly, or is it going to hook more northward or go straight north? And that's always a guessing game. And it's not an easy thing to say, I'm just going to go out to sea and deal with it out there, or try to get around the storm or go away from it, because these things kind of do what they want to do. Yeah, there's a general trajectory on what they're going to do, but a little bit of movement left or right makes a huge difference.
The cone of
Yeah.
confusion or the cone of whatever.
Uncertainty.
Yeah,
Uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all we heard at that time was that it was coming north. It was Clearwater.
Coming to you.
Yeah.
Right, Clearwater, Tampa Bay. The Coast Guard Clearwater Station was evacuated. They went to Palm Beach. So we just, I remember we were I was working the phones trying to find slips. Where could we go? Because what happened was we didn't realize that we had to evacuate the marina. And we get a call from the dock master. And it was a couple of days prior to them calling us.
The Monday prior to the Thursday.
And
This
he
is
said-
still in Inglewood.
This is in
Marina, okay.
Inglewood.
Royal Palm Marina.
And they called and they said, if we have a named storm that's headed towards this way and it becomes a named storm, wasn't that it? Then we will.
We're ordering you to evacuate.
We're going to have to evacuate 72 hours as soon as it becomes a named storm or something like that, or it becomes a storm that's coming.
They said
or no, we're under
if we call you, you got to get out.
yeah, basically.
And so they called us on Monday.
Yeah, and Dave just happened to mention it, and I said, "What are you talking about?" Because we hadn't read the fine print that we would have to evacuate. We'd only been there a very short time, and so
I might mention, too.
went into, I've got to find a place to take the boat. Like, what am I going to do? I got to get it out of the water. I reached out to you. I called everywhere. I mean, I had a list of places he was supposed to call. We were calling. Where can we go? What can we do? And our choices were just not there. And now, I'm still thinking it's gonna be okay. The storm's gonna stay on the track. It's not gonna head this way. They're not gonna force us to evacuate. It's all gonna be fine. It's all gonna be fine. I was optimistic, and then we got the
Unusual.
That's a change.
Unusual.
unusual because I'd grown up with hurricanes. I'm
Yeah.
from Miami.
We're all the three of us are from Florida, so
Yeah.
I've never evacuated in the 36 years I've been
I
here.
grew
So
up with thinking, we're gonna have a party because blah blah blah.
Hurricane party.
When I was in high school, David was gonna hit us or whatever. Didn't. They always veered. They always went somewhere. So I just kept thinking, no, it's gonna be all right. And then we get that dreaded call that we have to evacuate, and we start just trying to not only do we have to evacuate, but we have to get our house buttoned down. We have a
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
We have things that we have to take care of, and what are we going to do? We're both, seniors, and like, oh my God, there's only so much we can do. And so that's where we are. So we start trying. And luckily, the boat was in working order at that time, wasn't it? You had.
Boats are never in working order.
Yeah.
There's always something broken.
Sometimes they agree to start when you ask them to.
Yeah.
So were there any known issues at that time with the boat that you're aware of?
I have been, spent the last year and 2 months and, lavishing money and elbow grease, all the heat exchangers. I was putting in the nickel copper.
Yeah.
And they're life limited products. I had no idea when the last time that they were changed out.
They're eventually disposable.
Yeah. So, and I'd been doing that.
We'd had generator issues the last time we had gone out. And he was in the midst of trying to change all the electronics and just finished the moving map, whatever that is. What do you call it?
GPS.
Well, it was called something else. But
Chart plotter.
Yeah. It was a
basically.
really nice one, like a big TV.
It was half that size.
Oh, wow.
For Uno.
It was
And of
really
course,
nice.
when you get old, you need reading glasses. And I wanted to be able to.
I've worn them my whole life, so.
I wanted to be able to get the data, so I got the big screen, and mounted that.
And so the generator is the only thing that I know of that had been giving us.
The generator was working fine when I left.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it was. It's just we had trouble with it. I think we tried to stay overnight one time, like right before that, and we hadn't been able to because we couldn't get it. Didn't it have to power the air conditioner or something?
The air conditioner was the problem, not the generator.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I knew.
Because when you unplug from shore power, we had probably $1,000 worth of food on the big freezer.
Got to make sure that
on the
stays
flybridge.
going.
Yeah. So basically, going back to the initial place where we birthed it, we had a continual problem with shore power. And I mean, almost to the point where fire hazard. I could show you like the power cords where you pull it out and it's like, looks like a charcoal grill.
I've been there.
Yeah. So
at the previous
at one
place,
point,
we finally got all that worked out.
well, but at one point the shore power wasn't available because there were problems, and so I had to run the generator for like 7 days while we got an electrician, came out, troubleshot the problem. Is it on the boat? Is it on the pier? Where's the actual problem and how are we going to fix it? What are we going to do? And it turns out that I guess they had 220 volt legs, and they combined them to one 240 volt leg, 50 amp, which is what we needed. And we were using Y connectors and all kind of monkey motion. So anyway.
Known issues were probably, he said the air conditioner, I say the generator, but so that's it. I mean,
So nothing significant as far as like
No.
engines.
Well, it was seaworthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
The engines were in probably the best shape that they'd ever been when we had the boat.
we hadn't used it a whole lot because we'd had
After
these
your
other
mechanic got us
issues.
back on the water.
Yeah.
Good job.
We had other issues, but so
Yeah.
and we had just had to move it, so we'd gone through all of that trying to find a new place, and
She was in the best condition whenever I was the owner. She was in the best condition that I had experienced.
Sure.
because
And
we
again,
kind of fixed all these different issues that.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, I don't know if you keep a running total of the money,
Oh God.
but I mean,
I try not to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
The boat bus.
That's me. I'm like, all right, let's
so-
get a list here.
and you've heard it.
$1,000.
Yeah.
You've heard it. Maybe you haven't. BOAT is an acronym. BOAT. Break out another 1,000.
Yes.
So how many boat units do you need today? Well, probably 4 or 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes,
So
the
you got
boat was in good shape.
call- You got the call on Monday,
Yeah, Monday,
and so
they
you
said
had 72 hours to evaluate.
no. They said by close of business, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So-
So what did you two do to prepare the boat?
They were going to turn off the electric and turn off the water.
Which
so
they did
we went.
before we even got out of there.
Yeah, before that we even got
Wow.
out. I was trying to fill the tanks with water when they shut it off. I'm like, oh my God, they shut it
right while you were filling it.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
so you didn't have a lot of time to prepare then for this trip.
we didn't.
No. And I had just gotten out of the hospital. I have a bad heart, and I had gotten COVID. So I had been hospitalized. In fact, the first place we went when he picked me up at the hospital was go see the boat. This is prior to the storm, but just the
There's
week
more water.
before.
A man's got to have his priorities straight.
The week before. And so the possibility of me going on that boat with him wasn't going to happen.
Right.
It couldn't happen. I mean,
And you had to take care of the house as well. I mean, you had your home front to
Thank you.
take
and
care
that
of.
was it.
Well-
I mean, my son
Gentleman
lived
and a
in
scholar.
Tampa at the time, and he worked, has a job at KPMG and his own, things to do with. My daughter and her husband have their own home, and they've got 2 little girls. And so Dave was just, I don't think that we really thought, Dave just wanted to get on the water and get the boat out of harm's way.
Right.
He knew he could only go so fast, and he just needed to get there as fast as he could. I think he thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to have the boat down and, as far as I can get, and everything's going to be fine. And then I'm going to either I'll drive down there and come back with him after the storm,
Yeah.
or, it's all going to be good.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and then it wasn't. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you had short notice to get the boat out of there, first of all.
Yeah.
And
So not a lot of time to think about,
Yeah.
all right, what's our next step? Or
Not
what do we
no
need on the boat?
options.
Or,
No-
Exactly.
I exhausted every single thing.
Well, let me just mention.
I'm even there. My son is saying the statute.
Yeah, I was
the
gonna mention
Florida
that.
statute
Yeah,
says you
for
do
those
not
of-
have to evacuate.
For those of you interested in maritime law, there's a
I have the
law, state of Florida, that says people are more important than property. And so the marina owner wanted to protect his marina. But
It's
the state of Florida-
Statute 327.59 prohibits marinas from forcing vessels to be removed after a hurricane watch or warning is issued. The statute protects the safety of the vehicle owners over property interests. But if you read on down here, it's legalese. It kind of double speaks as to marinas being allowed to force you to
so,
evacuate.
yeah, there's a
Does
little
it
bit of gray
depend on the
area.
paperwork that you sign as well.
Yes,
Because
I
of course,
suppose so,
of course.
but-
Now, whether that paperwork would stand the test of a legal challenge is a whole nother question.
Right.
But you signed the lease, and so I felt as though I had to do something.
He just said, I gotta, they were telling me to get out of here. I gotta go.
usually in cases like this, the Florida statute takes precedence over the rules of a marina. Same thing with HOAs and condominiums and things
that
like
would
that.
be up to the judge.
Right,
Yeah.
but typically in a situation like that, the Florida statute is above all. It is higher than the bylaws within these smaller units of the
But
buildings.
if you look this one up, if you keep reading, it kind of allows for them to do exactly what they did.
Yeah, there's a little gray area in there.
There is,
Yeah.
because even after this all happened, I was so outraged, so
I
enraged.
can't imagine. I can't even imagine how.
And I just thought we're gonna take him to court, whatever. And the more and more that I spoke to people and people start really reading it, it double speaks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Some of the folks in the same spot that we were in just took their boat out and they went 200 yards, dropped the hook, and they came out with a little damage from wind, but the boat was still floating.
hindsight.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the boat two slips over from us wasn't even seaworthy. This old boat, this really, what would you call them? Like
I would call them a cute couple.
they were a cute couple, but they lived there like hippies almost. And
Right.
her husband he would go and do the cleaning underneath the boats.
We like
and
to
stuff.
call them boat nicks.
But they just lived like a the name is
Free
bohemian.
spirit. They're a free spirit.
Yeah, like
They were
The
bohemian.
Bohemian.
They bohemian.
Yeah.
That's the word. They were bohemian. They dried their laundry there. They lived
Yeah.
there, and that boat wasn't seaworthy.
Yeah.
I think they might have had someone tow them out, and they just kind of put an anchor, and they were fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when these storms are coming, there's no right choice until the outcome of the event
Yeah,
occurs.
until after the fact.
Right.
So you'll just kill yourself thinking about what if and
I
what if
tried to
did
kill
this.
myself without thinking.
Yeah. And so these old trawlers are not very quick. You have short notice getting out of the marina. We don't have that much time before it's almost the point of no return. You make your decision, you stick with it.
Yeah.
Because you're not turning that thing around and outrunning it once you figure out otherwise. So Dave ends up taking the boat himself. Rebecca, you stay
First time
behind.
single-handing,
Yeah.
which
Boy.
was, that's
But
another
again,
little
no
thing to think
choice.
about.
Like,
Well, I felt like I had no choice. I felt like I had to do something, and so I something is what I did.
Yeah.
I would have never made it. I would not be sitting here right now had I been with him.
Stay tuned for part 2, where David finds himself helplessly alone in the worst possible spot as a powerful Category 4 Hurricane Ian barrels down upon him. You don't want to miss it.
A little after 10 o'clock, I'm sitting in the cabin. I'm sitting right there where you are. The boat, due to hurricane force wind and waves, rolls 90 degrees. I'm thrown across the cabin. I hit what ends up being the starboard side.